Just some more thoughts on October the 7th. And I think anyone that's seen any of the footage of what happened on October the 7th and doesn't believe it's genuine, or doesn't really care whether it's genuine or not, you're not a human being. You're an animal, you're a savage, you're disgusting. And I think anyone that after a year, and especially this weekend, I'm not going to call you people, any creatures that crawled out from under whatever rock you live under, wrapped yourself in a Palestinian flag and marched through London, you don't deserve a place in society or civilization. You are no different. You are no different to those savages that raped and killed and butchered and burned, shot and stabbed little children, old men, old women, young women, soldiers while they slept in their beds. You're animals if you support that. And you do. If you strap a Palestinian flag around your body and march week after week after week after seeing those images, you are no different to Hamas or Hezbollah. You have no place in our society. And I'm not gonna do a rant and a ranting and a raving video. I'm going to do a very, very quiet and subdued video. And I've just started watching another documentary brought to us by Israeli television called The Killing Roads. And again, just normal people, just like you and me, young people, old people, girlfriends and boyfriends, people going to the music festival, people going home from work, gunned down. It's not even in cold blood, it's in a savage bloodlust rage that these evil monsters have inside them. And I want to think about little Ariel, little ginger-haired boy. I think he's 4 years old. And he looked, I say looked, hope he still looks, hope he's still well. I hope he survives. Goodness knows what he's been through. Goodness knows what trauma he's been through. Hope he survived. Hope the Israelis get him out. And I hope the savage Yahya Sinwar that has used these little babies as human shields. There's a deep, dark, horrendous part of hell for you and any people that support you. If you support these monsters, you are evil. Little Ariel, his little baby brother, Kiffer, and all the other faces. You know, whenever you see a tragedy like this, there's people that look familiar to you, and their faces burn into your memory. And that's what's happened with that little boy Ariel. He looks so much like my grandson did at that age. But he's just one out of hundreds, thousands of innocent people that were killed. And then, of course, what did the cowardly murdering scum do? They hid like rats. They hid under hospitals. They hid under schools. They hid in the mosques. Deliberately using their own flesh and blood as human shields, as bulletproof vests, human bulletproof vests. That's what they did. Human bomb shelters. Knowing for sure that the Israelis do not want mass casualties. And we hear these figures coming out of the Gaza Strip of how many civilians have been killed. How do we know what's true? How do we know? We don't know. We can't trust Hamas. Every civilian that gets killed is a tragedy. But it's a double war crime what Hamas have done in the last 12 months. Use babies, use women and children, use their religious buildings, use their hospitals, places that are meant to be sacred, use their schools, places that are meant to be untouchable by war or by terror, but they burned the rules of war and terror a long time ago. And the IDF, and again, I've friends in England, they've sons and grandsons in the IDF, men and women. I was going to say boys and girls, but they're not boys and girls that serve in the IDF. They're men and women. Even if they're only 18, 19, 20, they are men. And they're women who are fighting for something that they believe in, fighting bravely and fighting fairly. Not going in and massacring innocent people. Don't believe the lies and the propaganda. The IDF are hyper careful about what they do. And they're targeting. And yet, civilians get killed. Why is that? That's because of Hamas. That's because of that evil jihadist organisation that has a bloodlust for Jewish blood. Genocidal. If those monsters could have got right the way through Israel and killed everybody, they would have done it without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm not going to talk about it in this video. I'm going to make another video, because this video, I'm trying my best not to talk about the monsters and talk about the survivors and the victims and the bravery of the IDF. You know, that I heard of a man, I think he was an ex-paratrooper, 70-odd-year-old. Luckily he had a firearm. And this is a reason why properly trained people in the UK who are civilians should be allowed to hold firearms. Because how do we know that some savages might not come and do that in our country? Because there's plenty of them living among us. We know that for a fact. That's not me guessing. That's what the terror watch list said. What's it up to? 40,000? 40,000 jihadists in this country? Do you know how many operatives that the IRA had at the height of their campaign? 250 max. Probably even less doing the bombing and the shooting. Very few. And yet the UK government believes there's 40,000 jihadists lurking in our midst. But the bravery that some of those soldiers showed, fighting till the last bullet. I'm talking about the Israelis fighting till the last bullet. Hand-to-hand fighting, ending up fighting with knives, some of the special forces guys that were in or near those kibbutz. The bravery was unimaginable. And the bravery in the Gaza Strip has been unimaginable. Can you imagine going down into those terror tunnels to weed out those monsters? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine the fear? Can you imagine the fear of going on a night raid as a young 18, 19-year-old soldier? And then being vilified and demonized around the world by ignorant and stupid people who know nothing. And if they do know, then they're evil. Then they're evil. The media coverage in the BBC and Sky News has been absolutely appalling. What were Israel supposed to do? I think they showed restraint. Do you know what I think America would have done? If that had been Mexico, let's say Mexico had suddenly kidnapped hundreds of their citizens and murdered thousands. I think America would have just carpet bombed the area. I really do. Because that's what America does. They would have just gone in and blasted everything. But the Israelis took the time, and people that know about warfare, people that know about urban combat and have worked in a urban environment, experts, are telling us that they've never seen anything like it. That the way they carried out their operations was like nothing they'd seen before. That the casualty rate for civilians, even with Hamas using them as human shields, was minuscule compared with other wars. Something like a 2-to-1 ratio, when normally it's 10-to-1 when you're fighting in that sort of area. So, what do you say today, a year after this massacre? Never again. We said that before, didn't we? We said it before after the Holocaust, never again, but it happened again. Well, we say never again, again. And I say to the people that are supporting this savagery, shame on you. And I'm not saying that out of anger, I'm saying it out of pity. But you're shameful. You're embarrassing to our country, and I don't want you here. Whatever background you've come from, whether you're white, brown, pink, orange, I don't care what colour you are. If you support that savagery, you don't belong in my country. I don't care whether you're right-wing, left-wing, Islamist, you do not belong here. And I pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and I pray I pray that someday Ariel will return. See you soon.